What's up, Vinny? How you doing? Alright. So, turns out I'm not quite as perfected in my symbolism yet, and to allow me to do that thing that I said I would do for you in terms of a simple paragraph. So instead I'm going to make you a simple video and hope it works. So, first off, I need to explain how a binary system operates on multiple dimensions. Imagine an infinitely small dot. This is a single unit of perspective, of dimension, force communicating linearly, perfectly straight line on an infinite plane, which just in its own self is paradoxical, because the only way a line could be infinite, only conceivable way for a line to be infinite, is as a circle. So if it's an infinitely straight line that still comes back around itself on a circle, we immediately see the polarity of existence shown right there. But anyway, moving on. So this one plane, one dimension, you can't see it because it's aimed at you. You are aimed at it. In order for you to split that, to gain a binary aspect to it, to create the mirror so that one may have relative measure out of infinite measure, one needs to induce infinite expansion out of singularity, or just frankly turn sideways. So you have the infinitely small dot, bink, coming right at you. Bink, turn it sideways, you have another dimension. So there you have two small dots that are moving back and forth. Now you want to add another means of relative measure. It's going to fractalize off of that axis again. So you have bink, 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 bink. Now you have bink, 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 bink. Four dots that, when you have a line going from dot to dot to dot to dot, create a circle that expands and contracts. Now, once again, the circle, if you were to turn it towards you, would just be a straight line. That's what I'm saying. Once again, so you have the bink, bink, you have the bink, bink. You want to add another means of relative measure. Bink, bink creates a sphere. And this unpacks all the way out, back into itself, and then recombines all the way back in. And the moment it hits one, it explodes into infinite expansion again. Because as we follow the deductive chain of validity, cause and effect, the causal chain, the moment it hits one, it then must continue on combining itself with its inversion. And 1 times 0 is infinite, because 0 is the only perfect denotation of infinity that we have. Notice how it is a circle, not a coincidence. Because it represents perfection. There is no flaw. I mean, it is the thing past perfection even. And so once the one is generated from that back outwards, that creates the break in the stream that then infinitely starts iterating near perfect approximations of itself. But it follows essentially the sequence of primes, which are approximations of infinity. And so it's not like it's just a bunch of near with just one difference. It's that the further it goes, the more differences are exponentially demonstrated along the golden spiral, essentially. because that is the shape that eventually it will always take as it, let's say, let's use a person as an example, a psyche, that as you open up the names inside of you, as you open up the singularities, the closed systems, the strange loops that we just described, the zeros, as you open them up and you unfold them, it turns into a spiral that goes inwards and downwards. And as we do this, we are chasing our inversion, which just becomes the dimensions of our shadow. Now, if we reverse this effect, we start chasing it back up. It's upward and outward into our higher self. And this is essentially what's called, well, what was called in the Bible, naming magic, which is really just what existence is, you know. It doesn't have to be biblical, it doesn't have to be scientific, it doesn't have to be shit. It's just what is, it's truth. And all these other things are just approximations of truth. That the more complicated they get, the further from true they become. But the thing is that for a person to functionally use these tools, because that's what they are, the tools, in order for someone to functionally use them, one must first, of course, start simple, start somewhere, then build, and then gain in complexity as they go through time. The more complex they get, the faster it expands, exponentially, along entropic fields, essentially is what we're doing here. But if the structure is valid, if one fundamentally understands and can technically describe the principles that are being learned, then it hits a threshold and begins to collapse back into itself, back into simple. So after a full iteration of this, that's when a person understands and can use that principle, that tool. It's you can't just start simple and think you've got it. That's what's known as the fool in terms of tarot ideology. The next stage would be the hermit, the one who realizes he is a fool because he just has simplicities and doesn't understand, and so needs to retire from influence so he may reflect and learn himself more appropriately. And what follows after that is the magus, the one who has mastered the tools. And so when you're just looping, you're following your psyche's automatic tendency to explore the infinite variance of perspective, to chase the introspector, either up or down the karmic ladder, the iterations of the soul. And so the only time when it's relevant for a person to retain the meaning that we have derived out of life is when one is systemically creating a map of the principles and the tools so they can functionally use it. Other than that, words kill you, because words are dead maps, period. No matter what, they are representations of something that couldn't be measured to begin with, but not only that, but ones that have occurred in the past, and time is a linear progression, period, from our point of view. So any stories that you retain, just the very fact that you think that words have a concretion to them, that stories have a concretion to them, means you're more dead every day you're alive. You've defined a boundary in a world that has no boundary, and you've filled it. You have nowhere left to grow. So unless you are actively trying to find and discern and utilize the principles of existence, of mind and matter, then you're just gonna willy-nilly spin in loops, chasing the infinite variance of perspective. Because every new dimension of looking at a thing, you've got the full loop to go around to close it back up. And unless you close it back up and identify it and name it, then you just spin out until you collapse because your entropic field lacked validity and you just suffered incessant energy loss.